Hey, what's up, everybody? It's JR here again from Holy Faith Media on the Fiat Ministry Network. There's some breaking news that it has come out. Another document was released by Archbishop Vigano, or Vigano, as I've heard other people say. The former Apostolic Nuncio to the United States, Archbishop Carlo Maria Vigano, back last month released a document which was an 11-page bombshell which implicated Pope Francis along with some other high-ranking prelates as to the knowledge that they had about the former disgraced Cardinal McCarrick and his activities leading up to the papacy of Pope Francis. And basically they said that, or in the document, Vigano stated that Pope Benedict had placed some silent sanctions on Cardinal McCarrick, and Pope Francis knew about them. Vigano personally told Pope Francis about these sanctions, and Francis did nothing. And Francis allowed McCarrick to take a high-ranking role, including a role in the relations and appointments of bishops all over the United States and even in China. Well, today Vigano came out after several. So, going back, everybody knows that Pope Francis's reply to it was that he was not going to say a word, and instead he contradicted himself. And over the next week or 2 weeks, every time he turned around, he was talking about the Great Accuser and how he was basically making himself out to be in the role of Jesus, and Vigano was the Great Accuser playing the role of Satan, without saying the Archbishop's name, of course. But in any case, Vigano came out today and he released a document doubling down on his accusations against Pope Francis. And if you read through the article that I'm reading through over at LifeSite News, you'll see exactly what I'm talking about. And he even goes further. He doubles down on the fact that everything that he said is true. He responds to Pope Francis's homilies or accusations that Vigano is a great accuser and that the Pope is basically playing the role of Christ in all of this, which is unbelievable that even happened. But Vigano actually even goes further, saying that Pope Francis played a role in covering up for or blocking investigations into other priests and prelates, including Father Julio Grassi, Father Mauro Inzoli, and Cardinal Cormac Murphy O'Connor. So this is an earth-shattering statement right here. So Vigano is even going further. But probably the biggest thing that came out of this article is he says, and this is a cardinal I know very well because he may only be the only Canadian cardinal, if I'm not wrong, but Cardinal Marc Ouellet of Quebec, who is the prefect for the Congregation for Bishops, is named in this document by Vigano, where he says that Cardinal Ouellet told him, I'm assuming this means Vigano, of Pope Benedict's sanctions against McCarrick. Addressing the Cardinal, Vigano writes, "You have at your complete disposal key documents incriminating McCarrick and many in the Curia for their cover-ups. Your Eminence, I urge you to bear witness to the truth." So Archbishop Vigano is calling out Cardinal Marc Ouellet, saying that Cardinal Marc Ouellet has some key documents at his disposal which incriminate McCarrick and many others in the Curia for their cover-ups. So this is going to be, Cardinal Marc Ouellet, who has always been a prominent cardinal, but is really going to be under the microscope now, because he's been called out by Vigano. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of people that are going to be very interested in what Cardinal Marc Ouellet knows about this. Looking back, so he restates with vigor his central charge that since at least June 23rd of 2013, the Pope knew from me how perverse and evil McCarrick was in his intentions and actions, and instead of taking the measures every good pastor would have taken, the Pope made McCarrick one of his principal agents in governing the Church, in regards to the United States, the Curia, and even China. as we are seeing these days with great concern and anxiety for that martyr church. In the letter, he also explains why he believes he had a duty to come forward, despite his oath, to keep the pontifical secret. And he adds, and this is a very good point for some of the papal altars out there, Cardinal Vigano says, the purpose of any secret, including the pontifical secret, is to protect the Church from her enemies, not to cover up and become complicit in crimes committed by some of her members. Going down further, so Vigano in this new four-page letter says, the silence of the pastors who could have provided a remedy and prevented new victims became increasingly indefensible, and is a devastating crime for the Church, he said. Well aware of the enormous consequences that my testimony could have, because what I was about to reveal involved the successor of Peter himself, I nonetheless chose to speak in order to protect the Church, and I declare with a clear conscience before God that my testimony is true. And at the end of the letter, Archbishop Vigano also encourages the faithful to never be despondent. So why don't you head on over to the article that I'm linking to below in the description at LifeSite News and read it for yourself. And underneath in their analysis of this document, they published the full 4-page document from Archbishop Vigano if you want to read it yourself. Very eye-opening, and I'm sure there's going to be much more coming on this in the future, but this is a battle. You're seeing it now. You're seeing some battle lines being drawn in the sand between those who are with Vigano and those who are with Francis. And it looks like, I don't want to speak too early, but it looks like it has the potential of being a full-out schism. At some point, I could definitely see that happening down the road if this continues. Vigano's not backing down, and instead of Francis acknowledging at least some of what Archbishop Vigano is saying, and Vigano is in a position to know. I mean, we're not talking about, some sedevacantist bishop off in the Midwest United States. We're talking about a man who at one time was third in command in all of the Vatican. So this is a very big deal. And this could potentially lead to a full-out schism. More to come in the future on this subject and on the abuse crisis in general. That's all for now.